What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here. Delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. If you're into Star Trek, science fiction, comic books, I am a #1 best-selling author and comic book creator, and I do these reviews sort of to draw attention to those books. So I appreciate my readers who check out the books. They're in the Amazon description below. There's a little something for everybody. If you like Star Trek style sci-fi, you got like The Stars Entwined. If you get like steampunk, I've got a series for that. If you like comic books, I've got series for that. Everything all over the map there that you can just kind of peruse my Amazon page and see what works for you. And then hopefully you'll stick around. All right. Let's get to Star Trek Voyager 7's Reckoning. I've been picking up some of the Star Trek books. I like those Eagle Moss Star Trek collections, which unfortunately they canceled before they could get all of Star Trek in there. But because of that, I've got most of the Star Trek comics ever produced. And so I'm kind of getting those as it is. This one's done by a fellow named David Baker and Angel Hernandez as on art. David Baker I had not heard of before, or Dave Baker. Dave Baker, sorry. And I have heard of Angel Hernandez's art, but I got into this anyway. Now, there is one thing I got to talk about, which is not the creator's fault at all, but IDW has some weird paper and some weird construction here. I just opened this book barely. I'm pretty nice to my comic books. And nice to my graphic novels. I've read this once, and it completely fell apart. So the binding's pretty bad on this. The paper quality, it's really weird, thick, glossy, strange stuff that just feels like it's out of like 15 years ago. So I really did not like the construction of this book. Some pages fell out, as you can see also. And I hope IDW fixes that for future releases. All right, each issue of this is a 4-issue series. Starts out with like 7 of 9 as she's getting discovered by the Voyager crew. Callbacks to the actual episode there where that happened. And then usually it has a nice double-page spread. This is a really nice double-page spread of the USS Voyager. I like this shot here that they put in. Now they're investigating some alien race who has some need for repairs for their ship. And they all venture onto the ship and discover these aliens in cryogenic pods. And then there's then they actually start talking to the aliens, and they're like, oh yeah, you can help us repair our ship. So Seven gets involved here, and she kind of learns their culture. And she learns that there's this resistance brewing between classes. Now their culture is very interesting. It's all based on storytelling. I really like how this was set up. And so each one of them believes there's some greater story that they're supposed to be involved in. And there's prophecies about stories and things like that. And they talk about the stories of the past and how they are basically doomed to repeat them over and over and over again. And so Seven gets really attached to this culture. Whoops, see, here's the pages that fell out as she goes through here. And becomes part of this resistance against their upper class, basically. Even though she's really not supposed to. She's supposed to be back there and just taking care of things. But it reminds her of her Borg experience. So she wants to liberate those who are kind of being oppressed collectively, right? And so Voyager doesn't want them to interfere because, that's against Federation principles and all that. But eventually, of course, she does anyway and gets involved in this resistance. A bunch of people die, and Seven kind of barely makes it out of there. And she discovers that, the myths of their people were all a lie. Basically, who was supposed to be the epic protagonist in their old ancient story was actually one of the class that's rebelling. That's what it comes down to, and super fun. And then of course, the resistance doesn't quite work out the way Seven wanted it to. Now they finish stuff out, and there's a lot of people dead, and Seven's kind of responsible. And when she comes back at the end of it, basically Janeway's like, hey, you made a mistake here. You can't do this sort of thing. This is why we have our rules in the Federation. Very, very leadership-esque. And, one thing about Star Trek comics, there's a lot of talky scenes in them. I don't know why they do the talking heads so much in Star Trek comics in particular, but it does slow things down a bit. But it does show Seven's development as a character, which is very nice. Great period setting for Voyager. I really thought this was a fun Voyager comic. I would read more like this in a heartbeat. Good stuff all the way around. I like the culture that was developed. The Talking Heads pages, there were a little too many of those in general on the pacing end. But, I like I said, I tend to get that out of Star Trek books. Seems to be a trend. Like the art pretty well. And, yeah, That's it. I'd call this an 8 out of 10 overall. And thank you for watching this review. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think.